Welcome to Prehistory YouTube channel. Subscribe our channel to get regular notification and follow our official Facebook page. Our today's topic is Mesolithic culture in world prehistory. In most parts of Europe, hunting and food gathering economy continued at the beginning of the post-Pleistocene epoch. For a long time, prehistorians saw this essentially as a period of all-round decline. They used the term Mesolithic or Middle Stone Age for European cultures of this period. The term Mesolithic was used specifically for the hunting and food gathering cultures of Europe in early post-glacial times. While West Asia advanced towards agriculture, the Europeans continued with a primitive Paleolithic way of life. The Mesolithic was supposed to have come to an end with the spread of food production to the continent. Prehistorians have not been able to decide whether Neolithic or New Stone Age represented a complete break with the Paleolithic or whether there was a gradual transition from Paleolithic to Neolithic, the Mesolithic being an intermediate stage between the two. Moreover, in the context of Europe, some scholars have regarded the Mesolithic as a phase of decline, while for others it was an attempt to adapt to the post-Pleistocene environment by modifying the hunting and food-gathering economy. Recent research has shown that some exciting developments were taking place in a few areas and given a new meaning to the term Mesolithic. Though the mainstay of Mesolithic remained hunting and food gathering, there were substantial innovations in the adaptive strategy. Much of the evidence for this new picture of European Mesolithic comes from Scandinavia and North Europe. The Mesolithic cultures of Scandinavia attempted to realize the full potential of hunting and food gathering. In these cultures, a wide range of animals was hunted intensively. New tools and techniques were utilized to hunt more efficiently. Seafood came to occupy a central place in the economy. The Scandinavian ice sheet covered much of North Europe in the last ice age. With warmer temperatures, the ice sheets retreated and the Baltic region as well as the North European coastline became accessible. The rich marine life of this region sustained Scandinavian Mesolithic hunters. Different types of fish like salmon and sea mammals were eaten. A rich assortment of land animals too was included in the diet. A number of fishing hooks, nets, and harpoons have been discovered at the Mesolithic sites. The manufacture of very small and highly effective stone pieces, which is called microliths, became common. Mesolithic hunters regularly used bows and arrows. Canoes were made for navigation. These were dug out of tree logs. Dogs had been domesticated for hunting. The development of Mesolithic in North Europe can be divided into three main periods. Maglemos from 9500 to 7700 BP, Conyext 7,700 to 6,600 BP, and Etable 6,600 to 5,200 BP. Sweden, Denmark, and other parts of southern Scandinavia were the major centers of the Mesolithic cultures. Mesolithic sites in southern Scandinavia show a high density of population. Hunters exploited their favored locations over a prolonged duration. This gave rise to a more sedentary lifestyle, something that is not common among hunter-gatherers. The Mesolithic hunter-gatherers were in the process of settling down. Usually, hunter-gatherers are constantly on the move and live in small groups, but Scandinavian Mesolithic communities grew extraordinarily large and lived in densely populated settlements. This has been called a complex hunting society. Social groups were larger in size. The environment was exploited intensively, particularly through fishing. Relationships of cooperation and exchange were established with other groups. This is reflected in pottery discovered at Mesolithic sites. In the words of T. Douglas Price, one can see the Mesolithic as an age of innovation, interaction, and successful adaptation among the early post-glacial hunter-gatherers. This created conditions for the introduction of agriculture in these parts of Europe between 6000 and 5000 BC. The Mesolithic economy was essentially an extension of Paleolithic hunting and gathering. It was marked by intensive collection of plants. The Mesolithic saw the beginnings of sedentism. There is sufficient evidence to indicate an overall growth in population as well as increased density, that is, more persons per square kilometer in certain areas. These new elements in the hunter-gatherer way of life were quite pronounced in West Asia. It seems that in this region, many of these new elements began to develop from the late Pleistocene onwards. The adaptive strategy of hunter-gatherers of West Asia during the late Pleistocene or Mesolithic led to the beginnings of food production in this region. West Asia had been cold and dry in the ice ages. Post-glacial warming and humidity allowed grasslands to come up. The Pleistocene environment in West Asia had been very harsh. Groups which inhabited this region could have sustained themselves by constantly moving about and gathering whatever edible wild plants were available. Gazelles were hunted in large numbers, almost to the exclusion of other animals. In these difficult conditions, there might have been a greater willingness to experiment with some new types of food. At some point of time, towards the end of Pleistocene, wild cereal grasses were included in diet. From 12,000 BP onwards, the Paleolithic economy of West Asia was being steadily modified. New types of tools were made, and the highly mobile lifestyle, which was characteristic of the West Asian Paleolithic, was abundant as food availability improved. Permanent dwelling began to make an appearance, and there is a remarkable continuity of settlement during the post-Pleistocene epoch at some West Asian sites. Evidence of such settlements has been found in Palestine or Israel, Syria, and Jordan. These settlements, dating back to 12,000 BP, are referred to as the Natufian culture. The time frame is from 12,000 to 10,000 BP. In some of the earlier works on the subject, Natufian is referred to as a Mesolithic culture because it was recognized essentially as a hunter-gatherer culture which had been modified to suit the post-glacial environment. A better understanding of the emergence of food production has enabled us to view the Natufian culture as having created the preconditions for agriculture. In West Asia, a brief Mesolithic age preceded the Natufian culture. The Neolithic did not arise abruptly, but was the product of a long period of adjustment and experimentation. The Natufian culture marks the transition from Paleolithic Mesolithic to Neolithic. So this was the situation, and this is the end of our today's discussion. Subscribe our channel and follow our official Facebook page. For any query, mail us. For details, see the description.